had a question posed on the Yandles Woodworking Show video asking me to confess what I bought. So I thought I'd show you. And I've also included my purchases from the Stock Gaylord Oak Fair, which was the week before, and also yesterday's raid on my local hardwood suppliers near Midhurst. I've just included the wood because I've got really not a huge volume of wood compared to what some people would buy, but I've got a really interesting, diverse range of finds, which I'm quite pleased with. So I thought I'd show you them. And first up, I'm not even sure this could be classed as wood, really. This is a tagua nut, or a tagua nut. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the name. But what this is usually known as is either vegetable ivory or palm ivory. It's the nut from, as the name suggests, a palm. I think it's a spiky fruit with a lot of these kernels in it. And these are harvested and dried, and I understand it makes a very good substitute for ivory. I'm perhaps a little sceptical about just how hard it is, whether it's suitable for inlay in the fretboard, for instance. What I will do, though, I will take the end off it. This feels very hard, actually. I'm not sure this is... There we go. I should probably have clamped this down before I started cutting. I think just from that you can see, actually, A, that is incredibly hard, and B, you can see the ivory colour of it. So I think I'm just going to leave it there for now. I think I will do a video investigating this, because I might try cutting it, maybe slice it into a few little thin veneer slices on the bandsaw. I know that there is a hole going through the centre of it, presumably down that way from the attachment point here. So you can't, you're not going to get that much out of here, but I might be able to slice it this way and get some pieces that are big enough, for instance, to inlay my logo. But yeah, ivory, vegetable ivory, and from my cynicism about how hard it can be, that is incredibly hard. And as you can see, ivory coloured. Tagua nut. Tagua. Next up, a mallet made of lignum vitae. I don't know what the handle's made of. Maybe rosewood, possibly, but the body of it is lignum vitae, and of course this is the wood that is famous for sinking in water. Its specific gravity is greater than 1. It is greater than the density of water, so it sinks. But feast your eyes on that loveliness. Gonçalo Alves. And this was sold to me as tiger wood, which I'd not heard of before. I'd heard of Gonçalo Alves, but not tiger wood. And you can see why it's called tiger wood from the tiger stripes in it. I may try to turn this into back and sides, as I just knock things over. I need to get my bandsaw sorted out. I want to acquire a better bandsaw that I can use for resawing, and I will try and turn this into the back and sides of guitar, and possibly a neck as well. I should be able to get a fair bit out of this. This part has been planed already to try and bring out the figuring in the wood, and you can really see the tiger striping in this. So I really like this. So yeah. Definitely guitar wood. Spalted birch, complete with bark, or perhaps not complete with bark. For those of you who don't know what spalting is, this is actually rot. This is a fungus. In fact, it's a few different sorts of fungus. The black lines you get are actually the junction between competing fungi, and it creates this this pattern. There's a little bits of white rot in here, I think, but it does weaken the wood, I believe. But once the wood's dry, as this is, it's stable. the fungus does not progress. It needs moisture, it needs damp to progress. You get this in woods that have been left damp in being weathered, and the fungus starts to attack the wood, and you get these what in fact are actually quite lovely patterns. I don't know how usable this knot would be, but I can certainly create veneers out of this for use in inlay. I mean, just that section there, it's just gorgeous, as is this part here. I could turn this into the top of an electric guitar. I couldn't use it in the body of an acoustic guitar. I think it would break. It's not strong enough. Birch is a wood that was used in guitars, particularly English guitars. But I think this is more being used for its decorative use, so I will probably slice this, book match it, and either use it for decorative veneer or the top of a guitar. Spalted silver birch. 2 lots of veneer. The bag of veneer you saw in the Yandles video, and this tray of offcuts I got, well they're all offcuts, I got from the Stock Gaylord Oak Fair. This has a name. I think it might be maple, but this is a form of spalting, and it has a very specific name and I can't remember it. If anybody knows, please comment and tell me. But that is just gorgeous. There are some holes in this. It is not perfect, but that's fine. It'll easily fill and should finish quite well. So that could be a headstock veneer. It's very, very thin, but it could be a headstock veneer, or it could be used in a rosette. Well, what else have we got? We have another piece of that. We have some nice burl, very small piece, but very, very translucent. That looks lovely. Just quickly whiz through these. Some of them are more interesting than others. That is very, very thin. Another piece of that spalting. Zebrano, I think. There's something going on there. This seems to be backed with something. Might not use that. I think that might be plastic. Walnut. Sapele. Unsure. Ooh, again, something perhaps a little strange going on there. That might have a backing on it. Or Speely. Actually, I don't know. That might be teak. Maybe that's Sapele. Oh, cherry. That's cherry, as is the previous piece. So good selection there, more of the spalting. And so to my bag of Yandles veneer. I'm fairly sure that isn't natural, that will be a dye. Flame maple, very nice. Just whiz through these. Oh, very nice. Ooh, I like that. This is actually the first time I've opened it. This was a bit of a lucky dip. I had an idea what was in there because you could just about see. I think that's natural. It might not be. I don't know whether that's natural. more quilting, I think. Quilt Morn Flame, I think. Oh, very nice. Yes. A few little holes. Insect damage, maybe. Oh, yes. Am I back through to the? Yeah, I think you've already seen that lot. So yes, very pleased. Some oysters, yew and laburnum, with the crack developing in the laburnum, as you might expect. A little bit of crack in the yew. This piece, though, has a certain translucence to it, which I'm rather liking. I'm hoping I can get some use out of that. There aren't any cracks in it as yet. Maybe being more of a crosscut, it's a bit more stable. I don't mean a crosscut. On the slant, it's perhaps a little bit more stable. But I love the sapwood heartwood contrast, so I hopefully will get some good use out of that. Piece of Indian rosewood. Now I know this is on the CITES list. It's old stock prior to this year, but still, if I produce something and I have to ship it, then I will have to prove the purchase of this. It's been purchased from a reputable dealer, so it's not unethical in that respect, but I'm unsure about the use of rosewood. But this is quite a nice piece. It is flat sawn, but listen to that. That's lovely. That's tonewood right there. I should be able to get a couple of fretboards out of that. Asian striped ebony. Now, I've had people comment on my videos before about the use of ebony, and yes, it's it's questionable these days, but this is it's from a reliable dealer, and look at the gorgeousness of that. I do actually like to see figure in the woods. I don't want a piece of plain black ebony, and of course it's the black ebony that's highly sought after and is causing all the problems, really. But reliable source, piece of loveliness. I think a couple of fretboards out of that should be able to get them. There are a couple of knots in here. This isn't a first quality piece of ebony, but I should be able to. This side is fairly clean, and I think I should be able to get a couple of fretboards out of that, avoiding the knots, I think. And now we get to the slightly more questionable piece of wood. This is Pernambuco, and I didn't really understand fully about this wood when I bought it, because I didn't have a decent phone signal. This is Brazil wood. Now, there's an interesting story here, because you'd think it was called Brazil wood, named after the country. In fact, the country was named after this. The name comes from Pau Brasil, which simply means redwood or wood red, and it was highly sought after wood, and the source of it, Brazil, was named after the wood. But because it's highly sought after, it's now on the red endangered species list, unfortunately. So yeah, flame me in the comments. It's a responsible supplier, so I assume this is responsibly sourced, but I understand there are no plantations for this wood anywhere, so I don't know whether this is just a piece of dead old growth, a random tree somewhere. I have no idea about the history of this, other than the fact that they're part of, the supplier is part of the Timber Trades Supplies Association, whatever that is called. But almost by definition, this must be responsibly sourced. Yeah, it's used for making violin bows, by the way, and because it's now in such a short supply, I believe violin bow manufacturers are having a few problems because they'd like to carry on using this very nice piece of wood. Can I get a good note out of this? That's the reason I bought it. I suspect I'll use this as a stripe up the middle of my neck, provide a bit of stability for the neck. Lacewood, and with, I think, a little bit of spalting in it. Beautiful looking wood. I think I can probably only use this as inlay. I haven't got enough of it to for constructional timber, and the fact there's spalting in it, it's probably it's probably not the sort of thing you'd use in backs and sides. But lacewood, you can see why it's called lacewood. This interlocked grain with this pattern with the rays. Beautiful wood, and hopefully I can get some very nice veneers out of this, and maybe some interesting rosettes as a result, or headstock veneers. I really like the look of this. Apparently it's reasonably easy to work with as well. So yeah, lacewood. 2 pieces of American black walnut, straight grained, reasonably well behaved. They just caught my eye as sort of, they're not spectacular in terms of their grain pattern, but they should be fairly well behaved. So I could probably get some sides out of that and get a neck out of that if I laminate it, maybe with a piece of that Brazil wood in the middle. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed finding these pieces. I love gorgeous looking pieces of wood, and hopefully you'll agree that these are pretty gorgeous. I realise that the laburnum is green, I think. I'm fairly sure it's green and will need putting aside for a year maybe before I use it. But the other pieces, some of them are kiln dried. I suspect the birch is air dried, I don't know. Some of them are ready to use, but a lot of these are just going to get sort of set aside. So I don't think you'll be seeing too many of these in videos coming up immediately. Although I may do a video investigating the tagua nut. We'll see. But we'll leave it there for now. Click like, subscribe, comment, share, etc., etc. And we'll see you in the next video.